Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next hour. Qatar suspends a role as mediator between Israel and Hamas, cites lack of good faith. Donald Trump wins all 7 swing states, rules out former cabinet members Mike Pompeo, Nikki Haley in his administration. Campaigning reaches crescendo ahead of assembly polls in Maharashtra and Jharkhand. BJP and Congress release manifestos for Maharashtra polls. And in cricket, India set to clash with South Africa in the second T20 international. Qatar has suspended its role as a key mediator for a Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal. Qatar's foreign ministry in a statement on Saturday said it would resume its role when Hamas and Israel show their willingness to negotiate. The Gulf country has been working alongside the United States and Egypt for months to broker a ceasefire in the year-long conflict between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. The latest round of talks in mid-October failed to produce a deal, with Hamas rejecting a short-term ceasefire proposal. Disagreements have centered on the long-term future of Hamas and Israel's presence in Gaza. The Israeli military chief Herzi Halevi vowed to continue operations till all hostages are rescued. He made the remarks as he met army commanders in Jabalia in northern Gaza Strip.
From this position of power, we are supporting our civilians who are held hostages and soldiers who are prepared to fight with tremendous determination, as well as pay a price to bring them home. We are not stopping or slowing down. This is to bring back the hostages, to ensure security for the surrounding communities.
Israeli protesters expressed concern for hostages release in Gaza after Qatar said it was pulling back as a key mediator for a ceasefire that would help bring the captives home. Thousands of people rallied in Tel Aviv holding signs reading 400, the number of days since the hostages were taken when Hamas attacked southern Israel on October 7 last year. Protesters also demanded that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu secure a deal to release the hostages held by Hamas.
Qatar withdrawing for us is a chaos because they were the lead connection to the Hamas leadership in Qatar and the Hamas leadership in Gaza. And now without them, we don't know who's going to be in charge of the threat connection, if it's going to be the Turkish, if it's going to be the Egyptian, if it's going to be anyone else. But a chaos and another delay in hostage release would be very bad for us, and we don't know who's going to talk to them.
All right, indeed, India correspondent Akshay Dongre joins us live for more on this. Hi, Akshay. West Asia tensions not dialing down, certainly, and now Qatar has pulled back as a key mediator for a ceasefire. What can we make out of it?
Well, certainly the changes that we are seeing in the US presidency now are clearly having ripple effects when it comes to the politics of West Asia. This was expected, in fact, when it comes to the presidency or the expectations of the policy that will be changed as far as the US government is concerned. It is going to have a major impact on the kind of conflicts that have been going on. We have seen strongly worded statements coming in from President-elect Donald Trump earlier as well, where he has, in fact, on several occasions said that he's going to take a tougher stance when it comes to the conflict is concerned, and cracking down and trying to find out ways to resolve the conflict as well. Now, clearly, the Qatari leadership also has an idea about the changing dynamics of the US involvement that are going to take place in the next few months, and providing a safe haven for the Hamas leadership does not go in favor of the Qatari leadership that will be in the world of a world where the President of the United States is Donald Trump, who has on many occasions sided with Israel as far as this conflict is concerned. Now it remains to be seen that what exactly are going to be the moves by the Hamas leadership, because it has been over a year. Most of the top leadership of Hamas has been staying in Qatar. The conflict has been stretching for quite some time now, and it remains to be seen that how the two sides, be it the Israeli leadership or the Hamas leadership, are going to find out ways to now dial down this conflict, or what is going to be the solution that will be provided by US President Donald Trump.
Indeed. Akshay, Qatar's foreign ministry also said that it would resume its role when Hamas and Israel show their willingness to negotiate. By looking at the current circumstances, Akshay, do you think that it would be possible anytime soon?
Well, yes, Siddharth, you're absolutely right. The language that is now being used by even the Qatari government or the leadership has also changed quite a lot just in a few days. When it comes to this particular conflict is concerned. Now, there were also questions that were being raised, Siddharth, that whether the Hamas leadership that has been staying in Doha or other parts of Qatar, whether they will be sent out. There were rumors coming in, or other reports coming in, that the Qatari leadership will be asking the Hamas top leadership that has been staying in Qatar to move out of the country. But when the questions were raised, the Qatari government has said that these reports are not confirmed, and there will be some other resolution that will be found as far as this particular conflict is concerned. But to your question of whether some kind of seriousness will be showed by the Israeli government or the Hamas leadership in trying to wind down this conflict now, that is a very big question. That doesn't seem to be happening anytime near future. And with the kind of stepping back that has been done by the Qatari leadership, clearly both sides will be at loss. With Israel will be, especially the people who are waiting for the hostage return, they will now be clueless about the kind of negotiations that have been taking place. It is an abrupt end to it. And when it comes to the civilians in be it Gaza or in southern parts of Lebanon, they will also be faced with a lot of questions on who exactly is going to bring a negotiation to this particular conflict that has been going on, resulting in so much of death and misery in the region.
Definitely. All this comes to a question, Akshay, that what are the prospects for the release of hostages in Gaza? If the ceasefire negotiations continue to stall?
Well, not much, Siddharth, because there is only one solution to it. If the negotiations fail, then the Israeli government will have only one option, but to send in troops to launch a massive search and evacuation in all of Gaza, which they have been trying to do for a long time now, without much success. So negotiation has been the only way. In fact, the Indian leadership and the other leaders across the world have called for dialogue and discussions and negotiation to bring in some kind of peace formula when it comes to the conflict that has been going on. But with negotiations failing, this is yet another blow to expectations and hopes that that peace will prevail as far as this particular conflict is concerned.
Definitely, Akshay. And last question before I let you go. How do you analyze this entire situation which is prevailing right now in the West Asia?
Well, we have been analyzing the situation for a long time, Siddharth. In fact, you have done it quite extensively as well. When it comes to the region, the situation remains bad. The situation remains quite grim when it comes to the civilians, not only in Gaza, not only in southern Lebanon, but also for the people who are waiting for hostages to return in Israel as well. The political leadership is working on its own agendas and its own objectives rather. But when it comes to the civilian population that have been facing the largest amount of this misery coming out of, or rather, that was the collateral of this war. It's quite grim, and as of now, unless some stern actions are being taken by the top leaders across the world when it comes to this conflict, not much seems to be happening when it comes to peace on the ground.
All right. Thank you so much for your analysis, Akshay. We'll let you go right now. And US warplanes launched airstrikes on Iran-backed Houthi rebels' advanced weapons storage facilities in Yemen on Saturday night. According to the Pentagon, the facilities contained various weapons used to target military and civilian vessels navigating international waters throughout the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. Earlier, A Houthi-run television network reported 3 American and British raids that targeted capital Sana'a. The Houthis have been attacking ships in the Red Sea, disrupting global maritime trade. They claim they have been targeting Israel-linked vessels. Shifting focus, US President-elect Donald Trump has won the election in Arizona, defeating his Democratic rival Kamala Harris in all 7 battleground states. The 7 battleground states in this election cycle were Arizona, Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia. The victory in Arizona took Trump's Electoral College tally to 312 against 226 of Vice President Harris. Arizona holds 11 Electoral College votes. In 2020, President Joe Biden became the first Democrat to win Arizona since Bill Clinton in 1996. Trump has now flipped it back. The Republican Party has regained control of the Senate and is all set to retain a majority of House of Representatives. Currently, the party has 52 seats in the Senate and the Democrats have 47. In the House, Republicans have so far won 216 seats against 209 of the Democrats. The majority mark is 218. Republicans are confident that they will get the necessary number of seats to cross the halfway mark. Donald Trump announced on Saturday that former Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley or former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo won't be part of his second administration. In a social media post, Trump expressed his gratitude for their past contributions and service to the nation, noting that he enjoyed working with both of them. Haley, who served as U.S. ambassador to the United Nations during Trump's term, had previously endorsed him for re-election despite having been a vocal critique of his during the Republican primaries. Pompeo, meanwhile, held the position of CIA director under Trump before becoming Secretary of State. US President Joe Biden will meet with President-elect Donald Trump at the White House on Wednesday after the US leader pledged an orderly transfer of power back to Republican he beat in elections just 4 years ago. A White House statement said Biden and Trump would meet in the Oval Office at 11 a.m. at the outgoing president's invitation. Such a post-election meeting is traditional between the outgoing president and the incoming president. However, Trump, a Republican, did not host Biden, a Democrat, for such a meeting after he lost the election in 2020. Meanwhile, Trump announced the formation of an inaugural committee which would plan and celebrate his inauguration on January 20th, 2025. Trump secured a second term in the White House after winning the U.S. presidential election on November 5th, marking a significant comeback following his loss to President Joe Biden in the 2020 election. The inauguration is organized by the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies and will include events such as the swearing-in ceremony, inaugural address, and the pass in review. Inauguration Day occurs every 4 years on January 20th or January 21st if January 20 falls on a Sunday at the U.S. Capitol building in Washington, D.C. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi denied U.S. charges that Tehran was linked to an alleged plot to kill Donald Trump. Araghchi, in a social media post on Saturday, has called to confidence building between the two countries. Earlier, Iran's foreign ministry described as totally unfounded U.S. accusations of a plot by Tehran to assassinate President-elect Donald Trump. The foreign ministry in a statement rejected allegations that Iran is implicated in an assassination attempt targeting former or current American officials. Peel Region Police have arrested one more person in connection with a violent altercation that occurred at Hindu temple in Brampton, Canada on November 3rd. According to an official statement from Peel Region Police, investigators from the 21 Division Criminal Investigations Bureau and Strategic Investigation Team have arrested and charged another individual involved in the violent demonstration at a Brampton mandir. As per the statement, police began investigating several offences that occurred during the demonstration, many of which were captured on video, including individuals using flags and sticks to assault people. Investigators continue to analyze hundreds of videos of the incidents and are working to identify additional suspects involved in criminality and anticipate further arrests. Updates from the Russia-Ukraine updates from this particular conflict. Ukraine attacked Moscow with nearly 32 drones on Sunday in its biggest strike on the Russian capital. The attack led to the temporary closure of two of the city's major airports. Russia said it downed nearly 70 Ukrainians over 6 Russian regions. The Ukrainian military said that it attacked an arsenal in Bryansk. The attack came as Russia hosts diplomats and top officials from around 50 African countries in Sochi for a ministerial conference. At least 2 people were injured in an overnight Russian drone attack on Ukraine's Odessa region. The Ukrainian emergency services said that the attack triggered fires damaging shops and residential buildings. The Odessa region is a home to key seaport and transport hub. EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell has reassured Ukraine of Europe's unwavering support days after Donald Trump's election win cast uncertainty over its efforts. Borrell, the first top EU official to visit Kyiv since Trump's win, said that purpose of his visit was to stress EU support for Ukraine against Russia. So far, European Union has already provided $131 billion in military and financial support to Ukraine and trained about 60,000 Ukrainian soldiers. Support from Western allies has been key to Ukraine's ability to defend itself against Russia's much larger and better equipped enemy.
The clear purpose of this visit is to stress the European Union support to Ukraine. This support remains unwavering. This support is absolutely needed for you to continue defending yourself against Russia's aggression.
Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk will meet France's President, Britain Prime Minister and head of NATO and leaders of Nordic and Baltic states soon to discuss transatlantic cooperation and the war in Ukraine. The future of aid to Ukraine is among the major questions facing the European Union after Donald Trump's US election victory.
In the coming days, we will very intensely coordinate cooperation with countries that have a very similar view on the geopolitical and transatlantic situation and situation in Ukraine. We can shortly expect a visit of the President of France in Warsaw, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, or my visit to London. We are still discussing this.
NATO będę też wizytował Sztokholm.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has signed a decree that turned treaty on the country's strategic partnership with North Korea involving a mutual defense provision into law. The accord, announced by Russian President and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un in June after a summit in Pyongyang, calls on each side to come to the other's aid in case of an armed attack. The decree, making the partnership law, appeared on an official website outlining legislative procedures. The treaty was ratified by Russia's parliament. The treaty further deepens relations between Moscow and Pyongyang. Reports from Ukraine, South Korea and US say North Korea has supplied Russia with weaponry. Ukraine's top military commander Oleksandr Syrsky said on Saturday that there were reports North Korean troops were preparing for combat alongside Russian forces. Syrsky said that situation in frontline sectors with Russia remained difficult and showed signs of escalation. President Volodymyr Zelensky said that Ukraine's military command was focused on defending around the town of Kurakhove, a target of Russia's advances, along with Pokrovsk, a logistical hub to the north. He decried strikes on civilian targets and urged European countries to provide more air defense systems. And still to come on DD India News Hour. UN nuclear watchdog chief Rafael Grossi to visit Iran next Wednesday. Preparations for COP29 at their final stage in Azerbaijan to discuss way to check global emissions from November 11 to 22nd. And thousands protest in Spain's Valencia over handling of deadly floods.
As our ecosystems change, we not only need to amplify our efforts to save them, but we also need to adapt our lives.
Today, everything grows here. At an altitude of 5,000 meters, we grow mushrooms, strawberries, watermelon, and tomatoes. It's been made possible by the introduction of technology.
It's like with stocks. You diversify your portfolio to minimize risk. That's what we're trying to do with the mixed forest, too.
People's mindset is changing in favor of electric mobility, and I see huge success in the future as well.
Same eelgrass is one of the most important elements in the ecosystem along the Baltic Sea coast. It produces oxygen and provides habitat for smaller fish.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. And Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov hosted diplomats and senior officials from around 50 African countries in Sochi, a Black Sea resort city, on Saturday for the final day of Russia-Africa Partnership Forum. The event marked Moscow's ongoing efforts to strengthen its ties with the African continent. The meeting in Sochi follows last month's BRICS summit in Kazan and highlights Russia's growing influence in Africa, a region it once dominated during Soviet times. Recently, Russia has regained momentum with countries like Mali and Burkina Faso pivoting toward Moscow after military coups. In a speech read out by Russia's Foreign Minister Lavrov to other foreign ministers and senior officials, Russian Putin promised Moscow's total support for Africa.
I would like to reiterate that our country will continue to provide total support to our African friends in different sectors, ensuring sustainable development, the struggle against terrorism and extremism, combating epidemics, food problems, and the consequences of natural disasters.
UN nuclear watchdog chief Rafael Grossi will visit Iran next Wednesday and start consultations with Iranian officials the following day. The head of the International Atomic Energy Agency had earlier said he might head to Iran in the coming days to discuss its disputed nuclear program, and that he expected to work cooperatively with US President-elect Donald Trump. Long-standing issues between Iran and IAEA and Western powers include Tehran barring uranium enrichment experts from IAEA inspection teams in the country and its failure for years to explain uranium traces found at undeclared sites. Iran has also stepped up nuclear activity since 2019 after then President Trump abandoned a 2015 deal Iran reached with world powers under which it curbed enrichment. Tehran is now enriching uranium to up to 60% fissile purity, close to roughly 90% required for an atom bomb. Chinese President Xi Jinping met with Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto on Saturday at Beijing's Great Hall of the People. During the meeting, Xi expressed China's willingness to work with Indonesia's new government. The visit marks Prabowo's first international trip as president, with stops planned in the United States, the UK and South America for APEC and G20 summits. During the meeting, the two leaders oversaw the signing of 8 agreements, including a key document on joint development in maritime areas with overlapping claims. The agreements cover fisheries, oil and gas, as well as new sectors like lithium, new energy vehicles, green energy, and tourism.
Indonesia has smoothly completed the transition of power and has opened a new chapter in national development. China is pleased about this. China is willing to firmly support your administration, Mr. President. We believe that under your strong leadership and the new government, Indonesia will adhere to an independent development path, continue to make new achievements in the journey of achieving national prosperity and national rejuvenation.
Indonesia considers China not only as a great power but as a great civilization. We have lived together for many centuries, and our cultures and our people have been interrelated for many, many years. Therefore, I think it is only natural that now, in the present situation, geopolitical and geoeconomic, that Indonesia and China have become very close partners in many, many fields.
South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol called for government and industry talks to prepare for Donald Trump's return to the US presidency after an emergency meeting with his economic and security aides. Yoon called for launching finance, trade and industry consultations.
가장 큰 변화가 In the trade sector, where significant changes are anticipated, while businesses should make their own assessments and efforts, government support has a substantial impact on industry and corporate competitiveness. Please engage in close communication with the industry. Instead of officials merely discussing matters at their desks, please meet directly with many business stakeholders, listen to how they feel, and discuss the impact these changes may have on business management and the market.
Mauritius began voting on Sunday in a close-fought election race that has been clouded by a wiretapping scandal in a nation, in fact, usually touted as one of Africa's most stable and prosperous democracies. Campaigning has been tense and police have been deployed at polling stations to ensure security. Parties have promised to tackle a cost of living crisis in the Indian Ocean archipelago. The legislative poll in the country follows a historic agreement last month that saw Britain cede sovereignty of the Chagos Islands to Mauritius following a long-running dispute. In response to the scandal, the authorities on November 1st announced a social media ban until after the election. But following an uproar from the opposition and local media, the decision was called off within 24 hours. The battle for control of the 7-seat National Assembly is being played out between two main blocs, Jugnaut's militant socialist movement and its allies, and the Alliance of Change led by former Prime Minister Naveen Ramgoolam. Ecuador government has temporarily suspended Vice President Veronica Abad from office just 3 months before next year's elections, in which President Daniel Noboa will seek another term. Abad, who is also the South American country's ambassador to Israel, is accused of committing a serious disciplinary offense by failing to comply with an order from the Foreign Ministry to leave Israel and travel to Turkey before September 1st due to security concerns during the conflict in Gaza. Electoral campaigns in Ecuador are scheduled to begin in January, and where President Noboa would have to leave the vice president in her post in order to participate. Preparations for COP29 are entering their final stages in Azerbaijan that will be held between November 11th to 22nd. The climate conference is supposed to discuss a way to check global emissions due to use of planet heating fossil fuels continue to rise, despite many nations facing devastating floods, droughts, heat waves and storms. This event in Azerbaijan's Baku will bring together world leaders, climate negotiators, environmental activists and experts from across the globe to tackle the pressing issue of climate change and accelerate global efforts to meet the goals of the Paris Agreement. Azerbaijan, which is hosting COP29, has been ramping up efforts to ensure the success of conference. Meanwhile, an Afghan delegation is set to attend the upcoming UN Climate Change Summit in Azerbaijan, marking a first since Taliban government came to power. Before boarding a flight to Baku, Maulavi Matiul Haq Khalis, the Director General of the country's National Environmental Protection Agency, said that they are looking forward to develop a relationship with world body. Brazil announced details of its new climate change pledge that sets a target to lower the country's greenhouse gas emissions by 2035, which it will present during the United Nations Climate Summit COP29 in Azerbaijan. Brazil's new target aims to reduce emissions by 59% to 67% by 2035 as compared to 2005. The government statement said that this commitment will allow Brazil to move towards climate neutrality by 2050. The announcement comes as Brazil is the world's one of the biggest emitters of climate warming carbon dioxide. The UN has said countries must do more to reach target to limit global temperature rises to 1.5 degrees Celsius in order to avoid catastrophic climate change. Thousands of protesters filled the streets of Valencia on Saturday, demanding accountability for the government's handling of catastrophic floods that have claimed the lives of more than 220 people and leaving nearly 80 people still missing. Many called for the resignation of regional leader Carlos Mazon, accusing him of mishandling the crisis. Protesters claim that Mazon issued an alert too late, hours after water had already inundated villages across the region. Thousands also marched in their Spanish cities on Saturday. After leaving power cuts and uprooted trees in its wake throughout Western Europe, the remnants of Hurricane Kirk reached southern France. Producing torrential rain prompted authorities to put all French departments on orange alert. Rescuers from various fire and rescue services received flood risk training in a white water basin on the Cher River in Tours to prepare them to respond to flash floods caused by natural disasters, as floods can overwhelm existing infrastructure and put both residents and first responders at significant risk. Locals and visitors in the Croatian city of Split relaxed in the sea as temperatures rose to those more commonly seen in summer than late autumn. Weather forecaster predicts the temperatures along the country's southern Adriatic coast staying around 20 degrees high on Sunday. Onlookers at the popular beaches of Split were treated to a rare opportunity to swim and bask in the sun, as temperatures, which used to be 12.7 degrees Celsius in 1948, reached 20 degrees Celsius in 2024. As smog blindfolded Lahore and the air quality index of Pakistan's capital soared to unprecedented levels. According to Swiss air quality monitor IQ Air, Lahore's AQI rose to over 400 on Sunday. Multan became most polluted city as it reached a staggering 1,914 mark on the air quality index. The experts call this an apocalyptic condition as the air quality is expected to deteriorate in the coming days. Smog levels have reached dangerous extremes as authorities fail to enforce preemptive anti-smog directives. A volcano in eastern Indonesia erupted again on Saturday. Eruption, which sent thick plumes of ash and smoke high into the sky, has already claimed at least 9 lives and displaced thousands of residents from nearby villages. The affected areas are experiencing severe ash fallout, with the air quality deteriorating and residents facing health risk from the ash and sulfur dioxide in the atmosphere. Emergency response teams have been deployed to provide humanitarian assistance during such havoc. Still to come on DD India News Hour. Bangladesh Army arrests workers of Awami League Party. And BJP releases its poll manifesto for upcoming Maharashtra Assembly elections.
Welcome to Delhi. Narrator of umpteen tales. Creator of historic folklore. To the Delhi of today that is proud of its past. To the Delhi of tomorrow that's charting a glorious future. To lanes, to foods, to ever-changing city moods. To walls, to historic gates, and everything in between. To art, to theatre, and an ode to the inner creator. To bhavans, to path, to melting pot of cultures, to a kaleidoscope of celebrations. To ghazals, to guftagus, to green spaces, to shrines, to deities, to devotion, to hope.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. And a quick recap of headlines. Qatar suspends role as mediator between Israel and Hamas, cites lack of good faith. Donald Trump wins all 7 swing states, rules out former cabinet members like Mike Pompeo, Nikki Haley in his administration. Campaigning reaches crescendo ahead of assembly polls in Maharashtra and Jharkhand. BJP and Congress release manifestos for Maharashtra polls. And in cricket, India set to clash with South Africa in the second T20 International. Canada has detected its first presumptive case of H5 bird flu in a teenager in the western province of British Columbia. The teenager likely caught the virus from a bird or animal. H5 bird flu is widespread in wild birds worldwide and is causing outbreaks in poultry and US dairy cows, with several recent human cases in US dairy and poultry workers. Investigation had been initiated to determine the source of exposure and identify in fact any contacts. In Bangladesh, tensions are running high as the Awami League Party announced its first street program since August 5, marking Noor Hussain Day at Shahid Noor Hussain Square in Dhaka on Sunday. The event has sparked counter rallies by anti-discrimination student movement at the same location. The Bangladesh Army has arrested hundreds of workers and supporters of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's Awami League Party in a major crackdown ahead of their planned protest against the interim government led by Muhammad Yunus. Dhaka has turned into a fortress with 191 platoons of the border guard Bangladesh deployed across the city and other areas ahead of the protest. Authorities have denied permission for the Awami League to hold the demonstration. Let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Migrants attended a mass on the Mexico-US border on Saturday to remember migrants who have died attempting to reach the US. More than 2 tons of substance resembling cocaine were seized in the Dominican Republic. The shipment, destined for Belgium's port of Antwerp, is the country's second largest drug bust to date. Back home, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is holding back-to-back rallies in pole-bound Jharkhand. Addressing a rally in Bokaro, PM Modi said that government led by Chief Minister Hemant Soren looted Jharkhand. Polls in the state will be held in 2 phases from 13th and 20th of November.
केंद्र में भाजपा एनडीए सरकार बनी तो 10 साल में हमने 3 लाख करोड़ रुपए से अधिक झारखंड को दिया। हमने ये ज्यादा पैसा क्यों भेजा भाई? क्योंकि झारखंड हमने बनाया है तो हम ही तो संवारेंगे।
Vice President of India Jagdeep Dhankar presided over the culmination of Silver Jubilee celebrations of Maharaja Agrasen Technical Education Society at Vigyan Bhavan in the national capital on Sunday. The Vice President precisely noted the importance of sustaining nation's fiscal credibility. Remembering the times when India's foreign exchange was dwindling around $1 billion, he praised the nation's progress of bringing a 700% surge. India's foreign exchange reserves are now standing at $682.130 billion.
Our foreign exchange was dwindling around $1 billion. ये हालात थे. Boys and girls, you are lucky. Our foreign exchange reserve today is over $700 billion. 700 times.
India's Home Minister Amit Shah launched BJP's manifesto for the upcoming Maharashtra Assembly elections in the western Indian city of Mumbai today. Maharashtra Deputy CM Devendra Fadnavis, State BJP Chief Chandrasekhar Bawankule, Union Minister Piyush Goyal and other leaders of the party were also present on the occasion. The Maharashtra Assembly elections will take place on November 20th with the counting of votes for all 288 constituencies set for November 23rd. In India's financial capital Mumbai, Indian National Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge, in the presence of other senior opposition leaders, released the manifesto Maharashtra Nama of opposition alliance Mahavikas Aghadi for the upcoming Maharashtra State Legislative Assembly elections on Sunday. On Sunday, Indian security forces launched a joint operation against terrorists after receiving specific intelligence input in the general area of Bhat Ridge in Kishtwar in India's Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. According to authorities, this is the same group of terrorists that abducted and killed 2 innocent villagers in the Kishtwar region 2 days ago. Contact was established and a firefight ensured. The operation was ongoing at the time of this report. Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi organized its 17th edition of Open House, an annual event dedicated to sharing the institute's latest research and innovations with school and college students. This year's event offered a unique opportunity for visitors to witness over 200 groundbreaking research projects through live demonstrations, presentations. Here's a report.
The open house at Indian Institute of Technology featured specialized stalls including notable projects designed for defense personnel in extreme thermal environments, as well as projects on galaxy monitoring, which drew considerable attention from the attendees. This exhibition highlighted the vast potential of scientific research in advancing both national security and space exploration.
The textile recycling is mandatory in today's scenario. So in this work, we have taken the post-consumer denim jeans. First we sanitize them and then we cut into these small fabric clippings. Then these small fabric clippings are mechanically recycled to get its constituent fibers. Then after getting those recycled fibers, we have produced these thermal liners. So these thermal liners are responsible for providing us warmth in the cold weather clothing.
The project of ours is mapping our galaxy from within is basically using hydrogen emissions, 21 centimeter emissions. So we have built our own horn antenna for that. And using that emissions, we are mapping our galaxy. So it's kind of proving our galaxy that it has a spiral structure.
We are physicists and we want to verify everything. So people just said that it's a spiral, so we want to see it for ourselves, right? So we made this specifically for that 21 centimeter emission. And it gets amplified and gets run in the code to show a spectrum. So from that spectrum we can get where the clouds are located, at what velocities the hydrogen clouds are moving in our galaxy.
The event included a dedicated section for the exhibition and demonstration of research projects where IIT Delhi students and researchers engaged with visitors, explaining complex concepts in accessible ways to inspire curiosity and innovation among young minds.
All of us we know that Chandrayaan, ISRO, DRDO, they are doing this thing, but IIT plays a very crucial role in everything. So mostly IIT is an academic institute, but at the same time, IIT is the leader in research in India. So whatever we see, wherever it is, whether the DRDO, ISRO, IIT, in any kind of organization, you will see very big contribution of IIT, all of the IITs. So in IIT Delhi, the idea is that one day in a year, we will open the door to everyone. Everybody will come and see that what we are doing in the lab, what kind of exciting research we are doing, and how we are helping in the nation building.
Attendees were captivated by the technological creativity on display, reaffirming Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi's role as a hub for transformative research and intellectual growth. Kriti Vadera's report for DD India.
The Indian Navy's submarine INS Vela arrived in Colombo on Sunday for a 3-day visit and was accorded a ceremonial welcome by the Sri Lanka Navy. Several team-building exercises are planned between the crew of the submarine and Sri Lankan Navy personnel during the visit. The visit is classified as an operational turnaround, wherein the submarine will replenish provisions. Indian Navy, Coast Guard ships and submarines have been making regular port calls in Sri Lanka as these visits strengthen the bilateral cooperation. Let's take a look at other stories making news. India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman launched the National MSME Cluster Outreach Program in Bengaluru on Sunday. The event was organized jointly by the Department of Financial Services and the Small Industries Development Bank of India. Veteran Tamil actor Delhi Ganesh, known for his remarkable versatility in supporting roles, passed away at the age of 80 due to health complications. Two Mahots from Kaziranga National Park attended a 3-day training course in Thailand, learning positive reinforcement techniques for captive elephants. The workshop, held at the National Elephant Institute in Lampang, was led by experts from Human Elephant Learning Programs Foundation. And still to come on DD News Hour. Real Madrid returns to winning ways, beating Osasuna. Vinicius Jr. scores a hat-trick. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. And now some business updates. US President-elect Donald Trump's proposed tariffs on Chinese goods could trigger factory relocations across Asia, but experts warn a full trade war between the US and China would destabilize global markets, with Asia bearing the brunt. Trump has promised up to 60% tariffs on Chinese imports to address the trade imbalance, though analysts question whether he'll stick to this figure. A trade slowdown could also affect Southeast Asia, where economies are heavily linked to China's production chains. Countries like Indonesia, Vietnam and the Philippines could see reduced exports to the US, as Trump also plans to raise import duties on all foreign goods by 10 to 20%. How much impact this will have depends on each country's reliance on US exports. The US has ordered Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Co. to halt shipments of advanced chips to Chinese customers that are often used in artificial intelligence applications starting Monday. According to sources, the Department of Commerce sent a letter to TSMC imposing export restrictions on certain sophisticated chips of 7 nanometer or more advanced designs destined for China that power AI accelerator and graphics processing units. The US order, which is being reported for the first time, comes just a week after TSMC notified the Commerce Department that one of its chips had been found in Huawei AI processor. The latest clampdown, in fact, hits many more companies and will allow the US to assess whether other companies are diverting chips to Huawei for its AI processor. You're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for sport. And the Young Indian Brigade will once again be in action when they clash against South Africa in the second T20 National of 4-match series on Sunday. Sanju Samson will look to continue his domination of the bowlers, but India need more stability in the top order during their clash with South Africa in the match, with an aim to extend their superior run in the shortest format. Samson's stunning 107 off 50 balls powered India to a commanding 61-run victory in the series opener, but the lack of runs from other batters remains a concern for the visitors. All right, we are joined by our correspondent Narayan Singh live from New Delhi to give us more inputs of what had happened and how does he analyze the second T20 encounter between India and South Africa. Hi Narayan, a very good evening to you. First encounter, we all know what a marvelous innings by Sanju Samson. And they beat South Africa by 61 runs. Now coming on to the second T20I, we are expecting a lot from Sanju Samson because he hit his second consecutive century in the T20I format. A lot will be expected out of him, but what about the other batters who were there in the previous squad in the first T20I against South Africa, Narayan? No one couldn't perform up to the expectations. What went wrong? How do you analyze the first T20 and what are your expectations and analysis when it comes to the second T20I between both the nations?
Good evening, Siddharth. If you talk about, as you mentioned, Sanju Samson in the first T20, where it was all about the Sanju Samson becoming the first Indian to score back-to-back hundreds in the T20 match. And finally for Sanju, we can say that Sanju has arrived and finally the class has met the consistency. In the past, we all were talking about the consistency of the Sanju Samson. We all know that he had the potential. He was very talented and capable, but there was a stop and start thing for the Sanju Samson's case. And on Monday, he will turn 30 years old, and in a decade-long career, he has only 50 international matches under his belt. But the last two innings, the kind of performance he delivered in different conditions, one in Hyderabad and second in Durban, and back-to-back 100 against the world-class bowling lineup, it shows that he finally has cracked the code how to bat in the international matches, and also he finally figured out how to play against the top-class opponent. And talking, as you mentioned, that the most important thing is that India was doing well once Sanju Samson was firing all cylinders. But down the order, apart from Tilak Verma, there was a bit, we can say, that disappointment from the Indian batting order, whether it is Rinku Singh or any other batsman. But finally, we know that it's a problem with our Indian batting, whether it's Test cricket. There is the mini collapses are there. So it is very important for the Indian team to learn from those mistakes, and they should make a blueprint how to not to lose a match but just by playing few bad overs. But in the first match, we know that already Sanju has already done the work, a whirlwind century. So in that match, nothing was remained for the other batsmen to do. Already they scored 201. But finally, if talking about this second match, again, a lot of expectations were there from the Indian team as they were on an unbeaten streak of 11 matches, and they will try to emulate, they will try to achieve the feat of the Indian team too, the same team, because in the past we saw that Indian team in T20s has achieved an unbeaten streak of 12 matches. They can do it here again.
All right, definitely, Narayan. We also hope that the other batters from Men in Blue will also perform this time in this match, as expectations are very high, not just from Sanju Samson, from the other batters as well in the squad. And on the other hand, we also know for the very fact that after losing the first T20I, South African side will also come back very, very stronger. They will form certain strategies against India. But let's hope, as a cricket fan, Men in Blue, comes out with flying colours in the second T20I as well. But we leave that. Thank you so much. Vinicius Jr. scored a hat-trick to help Real Madrid bounce back from 2 consecutive home defeats with the 4-0 win over Osasuna in La Liga. Hammered by Barcelona in League Clasico and then outplayed by AC Milan in the Champions League, Carlo Ancelotti's side badly needed this confidence-boosting victory at the Santiago Bernabeu. Jude Bellingham scored his first goal of the season, latching on to Asensio's super long ball. Despite the emphatic win, Real injury problems continued to mount as Rodrigo went off injured after 20 minutes and Vasquez could not continue after the break. On the sidelines of the Run for Inclusion marathon on Saturday, former cricketer Nikhil Chopra emphasized that such initiatives will be instrumental in building a more inclusive society. In an exclusive chat with DD India correspondent Narayan Singh, he also commended Prime Minister Narendra Modi for promoting the mantra of fitness among masses.
The Run for Inclusion was organized in Delhi so that the athletes with intellectual disability can also be a part of the mainstream. And right now I'm joined by the Nikhil Chopra, the former cricketer. Sir, a very warm welcome, the way things are happening, and Run for Inclusion, how you look this so that, especially for the athletes with intellectual disability.
I think it's a phenomenal. Run for Inclusion says it all, that they're looking to get everybody included in the Special Olympics. It's a way of life that go out there, be fit, and in any case, we've seen how the Prime Minister is also so keen about making sure that India is fit. And that is mantra.
So India is fit, that is the mantra. But apart from that, the way things are happening in sports in India, not only about the special athlete, the way sports is growing in India, whether it is Olympics, Commonwealth Games, Asian Games. So do you think that the mindset of the government is in a right direction, that our sports, the Indian sports is flourishing in that way?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you look at the last 20 years, I guess every Indian household only thought about their kids to be engineers, doctors, professionals. But now, thanks to, the vision of the competent authority in the country, the parents are asking their children, follow your passion. It could be sport. At the end of the day, how Neeraj has done so well. Badminton, we've got ace players, we've got shooting. So, that whole area is vast and growing. I'm very happy at the end of the day. Apart from cricket, we've got so many kids. At the end of the day, they're getting an opportunity to follow their passion. In the end, what wakes you up at 5:30 in the morning to go out there and practice, that is passion. If you have passion, the rest will follow. Because no institute in the world can give you passion. So I'm so very happy, thanks to the Prime Minister. Like he always says, India fit hai to hit hai.
So as Mr. Nikhil Chopra said, the fit hai to hit hai. So we are hoping that such event will definitely take the Indian sports at the next level, and it will also bring the philosophy of inclusion in the mainstream. With camera person Piyush, Narayan Singh, DD India, Delhi.
Germany marks 35 years since the fall of the Berlin Wall with a music and light show at the iconic Brandenburg Gate. The Festival for Freedom emphasis on togetherness this year. The celebrations used music and art as a theme, calling on people to unite. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.